I'm talking to all the analysts and the pundits and the reporters and everybody else in between out there. You don't get to dictate for the fan audience what they like and what they dislike. I could make the argument that the fact that this stuff has been politicized, because it clearly has been, and people are forced to take sides, is something that's working to the benefit of the WNBA, because we're talking about the WNBA more than we ever have.
That's a good point. We are talking about the league more than we ever have. Is this a case of all publicity is good publicity? Also to Stephen A's earlier,
welcome back to the Clark Update. WNBA fans, a shocking new claim is creating major buzz after Stephen A. Smith revealed what he says could be a hidden plot involving the WNBA, the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, and Sophie Cunningham. So, what exactly did Stephen A. Smith reveal? Is there really something happening behind the scenes? And why has this story sent WNBA fans into such a frenzy? Let's jump straight into today's video and break it all down. You should sit down, lock the music, doors, and get ready if you believe that the WNBA has already reached its lowest point. Because what transpired on national television this morning officially destroyed the entire basis of professional women's basketball, not just the internet. Music. The harm has already been done, but the mainstream media is already in a complete state of panic as they try to remove the footage. We are no longer dealing with a straightforward altercation in the locker room or a contentious foul. A full-scale, pure civil war is taking place right now. The biggest names in the sport are among the fatalities. Rumors of a covert emergency meeting by WNBA team owners have been circulating for the past 48 hours. However, until Stephen A. Smith entered the first take set, stared straight into the main camera, and dropped the equivalent of a nuclear bomb on live television, no one was aware of the awful reality of what was discussed behind those closed doors. Music. He did more than merely reveal a scandal. He revealed a sinister group of millionaires who are deliberately attempting to ruin a player's life. A fan favorite and one of the league's most vocal voices, Sophie Cunningham is today facing an immediate, permanent, and wholly unwarranted ban from the WNBA. And WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angel-Burt didn't even attempt to resolve the situation because it was so disastrous and the repercussions was so poisonous. Rather, she took a completely unimaginable action. She literally left the league after packing up her office and raising her hands in the air. The WNBA is in ruins, and I'm going to show you the precise smoking gun that ignited the fire today. If you appreciate this content, music, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 62% of viewers haven't subscribed.
I don't believe Sophie Cunningham will be with the Fever next year. I said this before. I didn't think she was going to be there this year because of the bad press. Now, everything that Sophie Cunningham did this year put the Indiana Fever and the entire league on notice. I'm sticking by it. I think they're going to try to Colin Kaepernick her, bro. I really do. It goes on to say the 30-year-old guard who joined the Fever in 2025 after 6 years with the Phoenix Mercury signed a one-year deal for 2026 that ends soon, fueling speculation about her exit. Her summer ESPN comments wanting to protect young girls from competing against biological men, which she called common sense, drew cheers from spectators and boos at games. Backers highlights her three-point shooting, enforcer style, and broad apparel, arguing the WNBA needs her more than she needs it amid rumors tied to her views. Yes, Sophie Cunningham, like, whether they like this or not, the pub that's
subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video. We must examine Stephen A. Smith, the guy who ultimately pulled the trigger in order to comprehend this complete carnage. Let's be really honest now. Stephen A. has been treading carefully and hypocritically for weeks. Smith was taking sides in the verbal spat between the WNBA and former NBA player Enes Kanter. Kanter was calling out the obvious hypocrisy of the front office, exposing the league's extreme double standards, music, and demanding responsibility. Stephen A. attempted to act like a diplomat. He attempted to appease the IT fans while simultaneously defending his relationships with WNBA management. He was engaging in risky political behavior. However, the tightrope eventually broke yesterday. A grave error was committed by someone in the WNBA's front office. They gave Stephen A. Smith's production crew immediate access to a highly confidential internal audio memo. Stephen A.'s entire attitude altered when he learned of the owner's covert plans to harm Sophie Cunningham. Throughout the show, you could see the utter contempt on his face. He came to the conclusion that he could no longer play both sides because the owner's actions were not just unfair but also blatantly wicked. Stephen A. Smith became a total outlaw. The producers were yelling in his earpiece, but he ignored them. The ad breaks went unnoticed by him, and he launched into a scorched earth tirade that totally destroyed the WNBA's phony togetherness. What specifically did Sophie Cunningham do to make herself a target? In contemporary athletics, she committed the ultimate transgression. She spoke the whole unadulterated truth. Sophie Cunningham dropped a huge, indisputable bombshell about the inner workings of the WNBA while the rest of the league was busy caving into corporate sponsors and acting as though nothing was wrong. She made the financial manipulation public. She criticized the biased officiating that gives preference to certain players who are protected. Most significantly, she demonstrated that the players themselves were totally fed up with the league's poisonous dictatorship by openly endorsing the harsh reality that Encanter was advocating. The proprietors of the WNBA fell into a terrible blind hatred. They came to see Sophie Cunningham as more than a mere athlete. For the supporters, she was turning into a martyr. She was turning into a rebellious voice. Furthermore, billionaires dislike uprisings. I want a Stephen A. Smith waved on live television. According to the records that were disclosed, an emergency off-the-books conference call was organized by a group of the most influential WNBA owners. Finding Sophie was not their goal. She wasn't going to be suspended for a couple games. Their stated objective was to discover a legal way to quickly suspend Sophie Cunningham from the league in order to send a terrible message to the rest of the locker room. They intended to revoke her contract, nullify her sponsorships, and publicly humiliate her. We will completely delete your existence if you criticize the cartel. Stephen A. was yelling into the microphone. Owners in this league are behaving like members of the mafia. Executives are secretly planning to destroy a young woman's career because she dared to voice her opinions. A basketball league is not what you desire. A religion of silence is what you desire. The exposure was unprecedented, terrible, and unadulterated. Music, you expect the league commissioner to take the podium, take the heat, and pledge to conduct a thorough investigation when a scandal of this size makes headlines.
T-shirts during overtime and told us we had to leave.
And this says for the girl.
Or cover our shirts. This just happened.
It's crazy, right? It's totally crazy. That's the mother and daughter team that just the other day were kicked out of the game in Atlanta. It turns out they paid like $1,000 for their tickets, which everybody was like, oh my God, $1,000 for a WNBA ticket? Like that in and of itself is shocking. And then they get kicked out because they're wearing XX and XY. Just like Cantor was kicked out of the game last night because he was wearing a woman and what she is, the definition of a woman. And it's so funny to me. It's so weird that this is becoming such a big thing. Like, honestly, you really have to make that big a deal of it? Apparently they do. There is a school of thought there that is like uber progressive and uber crazy in the athletic world and embodied by so many of these people that are in the WNBA. And they don't like what Sophie represents for a whole lot of reasons, right? Same thing with Caitlin Clark. You know the drill on that. And then you get, the Megan Rapinoe's of the world even, that it feels so inclined to weigh in on this too. Like, Megan, really? Didn't you play like a bunch of 15-year-old boys and they whipped your you-know-what pretty darn fast? Like, you can't play against men, Megan. Like, what are you thinking?
However, none of that was done by Kathy Angelbert. The fans' reaction to Stephen A. Smith airing the dirty laundry was immediate and devastating. Social media was overrun by millions of fans who threatened complete boycotts. Sponsors began to retreat nervously. The pressure cooker blew up. The owners had completely gone rogue behind her back. Angelbert realized. She became aware that she was holding a bucket with a hole in it while standing on the deck of a sinking ship. What then did the WNBA's leader do? She gave herself up. Late yesterday night, there were rumors that an enraged Kathy Angelbert stormed into a Board of Governors meeting, smashed her keys on the table, and declared she was leaving. She refused to serve as a public target for a gang of spiteful, unruly team owners who were deliberately attempting to destroy Sophie Cunningham's life. The Women's National Basketball Association's commissioner physically resigned in the middle of the season because she could no longer stand the corruption and internal sabotage. There is presently no leadership at all in the league. There is a completely unheard of power vacuum. Officially, the asylum is run by the prisoners. This is no longer merely a basketball tale. This is a big corporate scandal. The fans are incredibly irate and understandably so. For years, the WNBA has preached about empowerment, about safeguarding their athletes, and about standing up for what is right. But the second a player like Sophie Cunningham actually steps up and speaks her views, the owners create a mysterious firing squad to permanently ban her from the sport. Stephen A. Smith ultimately chose a side, and in doing so, he completely demolished the WNBA's carefully created facade. Music in Canner has been vindicated. Sophie Cunningham is currently sitting in absolute limbo, waiting to see if these rich owners will truly succeed in tearing up her contract, and the league headquarters is absolutely empty because the commissioner decided to go away rather than face the music. The WNBA is confronting an existential crisis. If they ban Sophie Cunningham, millions of fans will never watch another game. However, if the owners give up now, they will lose all authority and be shown on national television as having been vanquished by Stephen A. Smith. The clock is running out and it's a lose-lose situation. Stephen A. Smith. The WNBA is currently afraid and is making every effort to keep this news under wraps. However, we will not allow them to conceal the truth. Right now, I need to hear from each and every one of you in the comments. By attempting to ban Sophie Cunningham, are the WNBA owners behaving like a corrupt mafia? Was Commissioner Kathy Angelbert correct to leave a sinking ship? Or was she a coward? And did Stephen A. Smith's revelation of this horrible, unimaginable scheme ultimately prove to be his redemption? This comment area is going to be a battlefield. So make your voice heard down below. Hit the bell notification. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see the unvarnished truth that the mainstream media is scared to touch. I'll see you in the next explosive if you continue to prolong the queue.